The purpose behind pieces of a character's design are not always immediately obvious. The story of how Zuko got his scar isn't revealed until 12 episodes into the first season. The story of how Nick Fury lost his eye and started wearing his eye patch isn't revealed until Captain Marvel, a full 11 years after his introduction in the Iron Man post-credit scene. The time spent wondering about the origin of a unique piece of a character's design gives you time to get close to them and become engaged in their backstory. And the reason that this physical attribute ends up being revealed, in turn, reveals significant things about the internal traits of the character. Zuko received his scar from his father, symbolizing the mark his father's manipulative, abusive behavior has left on him. Nick Fury's eye patch is used to hide an injury from a flurkin. He trusted an innocent, earthly-looking creature, and it scratched his eye out. He covers that vulnerability with a patch, and it relates to his developed feelings of detachment and distrust as a spy. This external trait extending to personality and behavior can be seen with hair color too. Purple hair is an unnaturally occurring color, so when a character has it, it's immediately obvious. But just like the story behind Zuko's scar, or the symbolism of Nick Fury's eye patch, the meaning behind the purple hair may have to be slowly uncovered throughout the narrative. As always, there are a number of categories which purple-haired characters can fit into, and a number of historical events which might explain the color's association in media today. Starting with the categories, the first, and probably most common, is that purple hair signifies that a character is aloof. These characters tend to be defined by their stoic nature and mysterious traits or backstories. First up, Raven from Teen Titans.
I tried to be nice.
Raven is part human, part demon, and comes from a parallel dimension. She was taught meditation since childhood to keep her emotions suppressed, in hopes of not bending to Trigon, her evil demon father's, influence.
I've known my whole life that this day was going to come. I tried to control the dark side of me. I tried to do good things, to fight evil, and hope that would somehow make up for the horrible thing I'm destined to do.
She's not one note, she encompasses light and dark. She's got to struggle, with her inner demons, literally.
So here we have the first explanation for suppression of emotions. Her stoic and therefore mysterious demeanor comes from her ongoing battle to not succumb to darkness. Her entire appearance is shrouded in mystery. She has a cape and a hood which obscures her face in shadow, she has pale gray skin, and a pretty consistently blank expression. A character with a similar personality, if not slightly angrier, is Corellia from Voltron. She's an undercover agent, she's Galra, and she's also Keith's mother. That last one is the source for her brooding. She had to leave Keith when he was an infant to protect him, his father, and Earth from the Galra Empire. Her love for Keith is in direct opposition to the full detachment and violent values upheld by the Galra Empire. She's definitely a mysterious figure for Keith, as he's never met her and she's always been a question mark in his mind. And seeing that she represents the mystery surrounding Keith's identity as half Galra. These reserved and mysterious personality traits and design elements may be reminding you of a subculture that also relates to this mystery element. Goths. Serena from downtown wears dark, flowy clothes, has pale grayish skin topped off with long dark purple hair. Her purple hair is a visual indicator of her creative tendencies. She writes poetry, makes clothing, and plays the zither. She seems like this intense, dark person on the outside, but she's actually pretty down-to-earth and relaxed. Serena is actually based on a real person who gave a street interview with MTV in the late 90s.
Even in my early teens, I was always weird. So I would totally make fun of them, and they would spend exorbitant amount of money trying to dunk me. I would be like, hey, Vinny in the pink shirt.
One summer I was a young tank girl at Pippi's, this kiddie amusement park. I think the reason I attracted so much business is because I grew up in the neighborhood. Everyone hated me. Yeah, I was so different from them. I'd yell like, big Vinny in the pink shirt. I'm like a freaking girl.
That's a literal quote from me. It made sense to have a job like that where it's just about the mouth, because I've always been very vocal about things. So, getting people to spend money to try to drown me wasn't that hard,
Onyx from Trolls favors a similar aesthetic. She has 2 purple buns, a pink and black color scheme with tall boots, multiple ear piercings, spiked bracelets, and belt strap hair ties. She has a pretty cynical worldview, but is still extremely honest and loyal. Like Serena, she has that level of mystery to her, since her potentially intimidating appearance doesn't represent her more friendly nature. Elizabeth from Monster High suffers from similar judgment. She's completely wrapped up in her craft of acting, and puts so much preparation into that, by her own admission, she comes off as unapproachable. Her intense stage fright, and her ruse being Elizabeth, playing Veronica, playing a character, leads her to favor being alone, leading to her being characterized as reclusive. One character who does actually fit their characterization is Gaz Membrane. Her furrowed expression, dark color palette, and rigid hairstyle fits with her short temper, appetite for revenge, and overall dislike for most people. Sometimes, this overly detached nature allows the purple-haired characters to be excellent fighters. These professions require the fighters to take human lives, and dedicate their own lives to the job, which removes the ability for them to forge meaningful relationships or start families. So a lot of the time, the leaders, or organization, trains the fighters to be cold, calculated, and detached to make them better soldiers. The work also tends to deal with dangerous people, so even if it isn't being forced by a leader, the fighters themselves usually opt for a more solitary and reclusive lifestyle, in order to not endanger loved ones or traumatize them when they're killed through their work. Look at characters like the Wolverine or Leon the Professional. The backstories for purple-haired fighters vary widely. Hit Girl from Kick-Ass was trained by her father to be a ruthless assassin. Her training and confidence in her combat and shooting skills leads her to have a very sarcastic attitude. This, coupled with her consistent use of profanity, juxtaposes her innocent appearance with her ruthless tactical skills. In terms of her emotional status, in fighting, she uses the tools taught by her father to remain focused on the mission. And in life, she's suppressing emotions associated with her mother dying in childbirth and her biological father dying as a result of a crime boss.
She's also very close to her father. Very, very close to her father, because her mother died in labor to me, and so she's always kind of had that thing of that my mother died because of me.
Ayane from Dead or Alive is another example of a detached fighter. She's a ninja skilled in ninjutsu, combat, and speed-based attacks. Her detached personality and cynical worldview are both associated with her upbringing. Her experiences in childhood led her to become fiercely determined to prove herself and her worth through dedication and execution in fighting. Interestingly, her name also means design sound, which is interpreted as something being built perfectly for its purpose. This relates to her careful cultivation into a fighting machine. Violet Song Jat Sharif shares a similarly traumatic backstory. She lost her husband and unborn baby due to being infected with a virus. Hemoglophagic virus, as it was named, saw side effects that caused long teeth and sensitivity to light. These on-the-nose side effects led the media to label its victims vampires. So Violet ends up becoming a hemophage super soldier fighting with rebels against the tyrannical government, the Arch Ministry. She's suffering from the loss of her planned future, in the case of her husband and child, and the loss of her humanity, in the case of being feared by the public and experimented on by the government.
People branded who have this sickness and they have to walk on the opposite sides of the street with healthy people, and they're really treated like less than second class citizens.
Her hair is explained by containing adaptive fibers which can alter its color. Another character that displays traits commonly seen in this lonely samurai archetype is Caius Ballad from Final Fantasy.
Caius. He is beyond death.
He's a villain whose stoic, serious, emotionless behavior is caused by trauma. He's been completely consumed by rage for centuries. He's aware that the world is going to end, and invites it in order to end suffering. The emotionless purple-haired warriors are often not emotionless, but rather had too strong of emotions that they intentionally and actively suppress them due to past trauma. The next category is a pretty big departure from this wounded warrior archetype. The next few examples have purple hair that fits into the category of snide, snarky, and rebellious characters. On the more rebellious end of the spectrum, there's May from Next Gen.
Oh my god, May, do something about your hair.
She's consistently depicted as a brooding, rebellious teenager, scorned by her father's abandonment and subsequent death. She's uninterested in school, feels neglected by her mother, and spends a large portion of her story rebelling against the world's dependency on Q-bots. Her hair is kept in an alternative style, she constantly has a furrowed brow, and definitely fits into the category of snarky teenager. A character similar to her in personality and appearance is Nikki Wong from 16.
Yeah, totally.
You're totally putting the itch in. Whoa!
She has a bob with two-tone purple streaks, facial and ear piercings, and has a sarcastic, rebellious attitude. Like May's apathetic view of school, Nikki is completely uninterested in her job. She works at the khaki barn and boasts an impressive -5% sales per week. She's unmotivated to perform well at the job she hates, and she's generally sarcastic and snarky, but she's also a teenager, and those traits tend to come with the territory. Uzi Doorman has a similarly snarky attitude and a desire to get rid of humans because they're past the point of negotiation. She's an angsty teen whose deep-rooted issues with her father and desire to oppose her creator has led her to become very rebellious. Nymphadora Tonks from Harry Potter used her hair directly as a form of rebellion. She was a metamorphagus, meaning she could change her appearance at will. She's filtered through many different colors, including purple, to rebel against her family's traditions. Then, on the more snide and barbed side of this category, are characters like Stormy from Winx. She's short-tempered and power-hungry. Of course, this attitude relates to her association to storms, with weather being unpredictable and violent. Her hair is even shaped like a storm cloud, and her face-framing pieces are shaped like lightning bolts. Vidya from Tinkerbell is a fast-flying fairy with purple undertones in her hair, and one of her main powers is controlling the wind to create tornadoes, another volatile weather phenomenon that matches her surly and hostile personality. The use of purple for both these characters might come from its association to destructive weather events, like purple lightning and the sky turning purple after a storm due to light scattering. Zulema from Winx is a similarly antagonistic and aggressive character. Ironically, Zulema actually means peace in Hebrew cultures, painting a stark difference between that meaning and her power-hungry nature and constant irritation with fairies. Kitty Cheshire from Ever After High is less antagonistic, more mischievous. She enjoys tricking people and usually acts generally troublesome and catty. Hannah from Barbie Mariposa, like the Winx characters, is a stark antagonist. She's cruel and selfish, and her main goal is that she wants to rise in the ranks from attendant to queen, a desire that led her to poison Queen Marabella.
So long, Queen Marabella. Time for your servant to get the respect she deserves.
And this relates to the next category of purple-haired characters. A number of these characters are designed with purple hair to reflect their royalty. Purple was historically the most expensive and hardest color to obtain in fashion, leading it to be popular among the ruling class. It still maintains its association to royalty today. Raven from Ever After High is the daughter of the evil queen. She has royal blood, thus the purple, and her mother is also depicted with purple hair as an adult, so it could just be genetic. But even though she's royalty, she's still classified as a rebel for her refusal to sign the storybook, because she doesn't want to follow her destiny of becoming the next evil queen. On top of that, magic, particularly dark magic, is often depicted as purple in this show. The show also follows the stark differences in Raven, daughter of the evil queen, and her storybook counterpart, Apple, the daughter of Snow White. So the purple hair could be another reference to that. Raven's purple being the darker version to Apple's bright red. The Descendants movies follow a very similar story to Ever After High, showing the lives and struggles of the children of storybook characters. The main character in this series is Mel, the daughter of the Sleeping Beauty villain Maleficent, so this could be a direct association to royalty. The 2014 live-action movie expanded on Maleficent's mythology and titled her as Queen of the Moors. Descendants came out the year after and titled her as Queen of the Isle of the Lost. But in both cases of Raven and Mel, they don't really reap the benefits of their mother's royal statuses, and they end up being feared and ostracized for their association. So the purple could be less of a one-to-one purple equals royalty, and be more of a reminder that purple does represent royalty, but in these instances, is being used to show the social downsides of being raised by royalty not revered for their strong leadership, but feared for their evil tendencies. But sometimes it is just straight up one-to-one. The Purple King and Princess Purple in Rainbow Bubblegum have purple hair to reflect their royalty, and Princess Malusha from Barbie has purple hair too. Elizabeth, who was mentioned earlier, fits into this category too, as she was destined to become the Vampire Queen. Sometimes these royal beings, like Raven, have powers, or they're non-human magical creatures, which leads into the next category. Characters that have purple hair as an association to mythical or magical properties. Celia from Monsters Inc., for instance, has purple hair made from snakes. She's a definitively non-human character. She's a cyclopean, purple-skinned monster with tentacles and snakes for hair, the final attribute being a reference to Medusa, cementing her purple hair as being a reference to mythology. Rarity from My Little Pony is a talking unicorn with telekinetic powers. Amethyst from Steven Universe is a living gem with shape-shifting abilities and a magical whip. 3 from Drakengard is an intoner, a godlike being that possesses powers that summon demons. Her hair is also explained to grow very quickly, so one of her accessories is a pair of scissors that she has with her at all times. Athena from King of Fighters is descended from the goddess Athena and has psychic powers. Shantae is a genie with a slew of magical powers, and her purple hair can be used as a whip. Perry from Fairly Odd Parents, the son of Cosmo and Wanda, had purple clothes and eyes, then when he matured, was shown to have purple hair. And his name, Perry, was revealed to be a nickname for periwinkle, a purple flower. And Willa from Barbie Mariposa is a fairy whose purple hair matches her wings and clothes. This magical association can also be darker, seeing that there are a number of magical characters with ties to the occult. Stormy and Zelima are both witches. Halen is a guardian who, along with 4 other girls with elemental powers, compose Witch, which is an acronym for the first letter of each of the members' names. Spectra from Monster High, a paranormal character, is associated with the supernatural. One more unique example is Madame Mim from Sword in the Stone. Merlin's rival is a powerful witch who can shapeshift, fly, and teleport. She's a self-identified witch, and she has powers, but her main trait is the next reasoning. She's crazy. A handful of purple-haired characters fit into the crazy category. This tends to lean one of 2 ways. They can represent bizarreness and eccentricity, or madness and insanity. For the former, you have characters like Entrapta from She-Ra. Her devotion to studying technology leaves her with a sense of awe for the scientific world, but also a narrow-minded viewpoint that can get her into trouble, like in Season 1 when her desire for access to advanced technology and manipulation about her being abandoned during a mission led her to join the Horde. She can move her hair around and use it as a limb, and she's a diehard optimist whose obsession with technology, and on a wider scale, the potential of broken objects and hidden beauty and imperfection makes her see the best in people. The latter part of this category involves depicting madness or insanity. This includes Mina Loveberry from Star vs. the Forces of Evil, a Mumin warrior who's overly energetic, constantly wears a crazed expression, and often turns to violence. She can also use her powers to transform into a Hulk version of herself, which can't be reasoned with or easily harmed. Another example of this is the Minions from the Despicable Me franchise. They're most commonly depicted with yellow skin, blue overalls, and no more than 10 black hairs. But in Despicable Me 2, they're mutated by PX-41, a serum that turns them into a crazed, indestructible, violent army. Their skin turns purple, their blue overalls turn black, they grow an underbite, and their black hair turns into a purple mess. An article from Cineworld explained that the purple was chosen intentionally, because purple is on the opposite end of the color wheel from yellow, and the minions turn from fun, positive little pills to violent and angry machines. The same article also says that there are 36 different types of minions. Who knew? After this, there's a category of characters who have purple hair for a more surface level reason, purple being a direct relation to an object or character. This can be totally surface level, like Plum Pudding from Strawberry Shortcake and Amanita Nightshade from Monster High matching the color of the objects their names are derived from. And then there are other examples of clear reasons that require a little more explanation. Sierra from Total Drama Island, for example, is explained on the official website, Total Drama Online, to have dyed her hair purple to match the exact same hue of Cody's bruises. So in that example, the hair color is directly chosen to mimic an object. It just requires some extra explanation that ends up revealing something about her relationship with Cody. For a less stalkerish example, there's Akima Kunimoto from Titan AE, who dyes the front strands of her hair purple as a memorial to her friend whose favorite color was purple. Randy Cunningham has purple hair, a decidedly mysterious color, and he's a ninja, a secret, elusive figure. Thanos from Squid Games has purple hair that seems like a surface-level choice, but again, reveals something about the character. A Tudum article interviewing the actor featured a question about his and the director's intention behind Thanos' appearance. He states that the conversations between the director and the hair and makeup team led him to think that, quote, because he's someone so simple, so intuitive, he would probably have purple hair, because that's the skin color of the actual Thanos. This description of the character suggests that he lacks depth, at least in terms of presenting his own identity. He picked the stage name Thanos due to its instant recognition and his attempt to draw associations between himself and the antagonist to sell his edgy musical persona. Initially, audience members will assume that he picked the color for the simple reason that Thanos, the character whose name he's using, is purple.
평범한 머리는 아니었으면 좋겠다라는 의견이 있으셨고, 그래 가장 이 타노스는 단순하고 직관적인 인물이다 보니 타노스의 피부 색깔인 보라색으로 해보자.
It's an intentional directorial choice to demonstrate the character's lack of depth. Throughout the season, though, his intense reactions to the deaths, dependence on substances, and thoughts of harming himself shows that while he opts for a surface-level name for his surface-level musical alter ego, it's just an alter ego. And like all the people manipulated in the games in this show, he does have actual depth, history, and emotions that are being overlooked. Speaking of alter egos, another character that dyed their hair purple for a similar reason was Lee Chaolan from Tekken. He took on the alter ego Violet and dyed his hair to match. He intentionally designed his appearance to be flashy and used the persona to promote his company, Violet Systems. There are also the more vague examples of this. Like the lieutenants in the UFO series wore purple wigs as a part of their uniform, for the out-of-universe reason of giving them a futuristic look to match with the eccentric sci-fi design of the time, and give them a vibrant color, probably to provide a striking appearance since the show came out when color TV was first becoming standardized. Related to those examples of surface-level appearances and alter egos is the final category. Purple hair indicates an identity struggle. For recency's sake, a good example of this is Rumi from K-pop Demon Hunters. She's the product of a demon hunter mother and a demon father. She was coached from childhood to hide her demonic roots, leading to her developing feelings of shame and embarrassment in relation to her heritage and her markings.
Celine, do hunters kill all demons?
Yes.
So everything that has patterns?
Cover those up.
She believes revealing these markings will lead both her group and the fans to condemn her. This dress can be seen in her costume design too, as in the beginning of the movie, she only wears turtleneck shirts and long sleeves to hide her markings, and by the end, she's wearing a sleeveless crop top. There's also a sense of irony to the fact that she's a famous K-pop idol whose persona is rooted in confidence, and that she actually suffers from deep-rooted insecurities and anxiety. And she's not even the only pop star example. While her negative self-image is less severe than Rumi's, Kira from Princess and the Pop Star still has issues surrounding her identity. She wears a purple wig to be a pop star and fit with the rock star image. She also envies Tori, because she assumes her role as a princess is much more simplistic and stress-free than her overwhelming job as a touring pop star. Both stories see the stars come to terms with these aspects of their identity. Leela from Futurama has an identity struggle directly related to her hair color. Her purple hair is a mutation because she's not an alien, but rather a mutant. For most of the series, she believed she was an alien, and it was only later in life that she discovered her true identity, and realized that the cryptic alien message she was left at the orphanage with was a trick invented by her parents in hopes of giving her a better life, after seeing how mutants were treated by the Dwellers. Leela also sounds like Lila, a name which means lilac, a shade of purple. Of course, a story of an identity struggle is present in comics as well, most notably in the form of the purple-haired Psylocke, a ninja who actually has two identities. She's the product of body swapping of Kanan, a ninja, and Betsy Braddock, a mutant who dyed her hair purple in pursuit of a modeling career. Her identity is even a source of confusion among the X-Men. The purple hair can also be a positive part of a character's identity. Amity from Owl House struggles with her identity throughout the show. She's forced by her mother to dye her hair green to conform to the family's image. It's when she decides to dye her hair purple that her wounds surrounding her identity begin to heal, and she discovers her independence and defiance against her family's rules.
It's different.
Oh yeah, Mom always liked it green.
Even Tommy and Stu Pickles could fit into this category of identity, with their matching hair being a clear link between them, representing their strong familial bond and their identity as important members within each other's lives. And again, we can't leave the characters with streaks in their hair out. Korra from Astro Boy, who remains reserved due to her parents abandoning her on the surface, Go-Go from Big Hero 6, who fits with the edgy, stoic character type, Teresa from Randy Cunningham 9th Grade Ninja, who's eccentric and compassionate, and Juleka from Miraculous, who's extremely shy and equally kind-hearted. And we can't leave out the characters that seem like they don't fit in these categories either. Reggie Rocket from Rocket Power isn't goth or snide, she doesn't have powers, and she's a very mature and normal character. But Reggie's full name is Regina, coming from the Latin word for queen. So there's an intentional royal association, likely to ironically contrast her name meaning queen, a feminine position which, to a 12-year-old, is associated with sparkly jewelry, big wigs, and fancy dresses, the direct opposite of Reggie's style of baggy t-shirts, camo pants, and a tomboy personality. But her name and its royal association do relate to her character. Because while queens are feminine and do wear big dresses, they're also depicted as being level-headed, loyal, and excelling in leadership, all qualities which Reggie herself possesses. So the purple hair can be used to explain widely different character traits, and each of these explanations come with a unique historical reasoning. I mentioned earlier that purple can be used to reference or exhibit royalty. Tyrian purple was an expensive form of purple produced from shellfish. Its rarity led it to become a highly sought-after pigment by the ruling class and nobility.
This was the dye, the most prestigious dye in the world, in fact. The Romans, of course, made it an imperial monopoly, and this went on right into the Middle Ages.
And why, when you look at medieval and Renaissance pictures of Christ or Emperor, they are wearing purple. Uh-oh.
One of the first direct associations between royalty, purple, and hair is the story of King Nisus of Megara. He was a king, so there's the royalty aspect, and he possessed a lock of purple hair that contained magical properties, which protected his city from being conquered. In this myth, which dates back to the 1st century, we already see purple symbolizing both royalty and magic. Speaking of magical properties, a ton of the characters we've reviewed have possessed some sort of powers. Violet is the closest color on the spectrum to ultraviolet. It's the color closest to shorter wavelength rays like X-rays and gamma rays. It's possible that this is why purple is more associated with supernatural energy in the cosmos than with the physical and visible world. You can see this depiction in other media. The purple stone in the MCU is the Power Stone.
These carriers can use this stone to mow down entire civilizations like wheat in a field.
And in examples like the color purple, it can even represent a metaphorical power, an ability to overcome hardship and enjoy youth in the face of oppression.
So my sense of poverty was always seen through this screen of incredible ingenuity and artistic power that she exhibited in every facet of her life.
A more common version of this personal power that purple has come to represent is also in creativity or artistry. Elizabeth is an actress, Serena plays the zither, Rarity is a fashion designer. A lot of these characters also display the aesthetic and belong to the subculture of goths. This begs the question of why purple is such a popular color in this subculture. And I think it relates to the overarching theme, which is that purple represents mystery. It's not very common in nature, and violet is an elusive color because its short wavelength makes it difficult for the human eye to perceive. Again, this mystery aspect comes up all over the place in media. Another reason behind purple's association to the goth subculture is due to the goths and the color purple's association to something that's been present in over half the examples we've gone through: death. For centuries, purple has been associated with death. Ancient Romans grieving lost loved ones wore purple to symbolize the transition from life to death. In Thailand, widows have been known to wear purple during mourning periods. In the Victorian era, purple was worn during the half-mourning period. Etiquette books explain this to be proper practice in slowly reintroducing color into one's wardrobe, to avoid the optics of a widow abandoning her black mourning gowns immediately, as though she was looking forward to it. It's often used in these funeral and mourning practices because its association to royalty defines it as a dignified and formal color used to honor the deceased. There's examples like influenza being called the Purple Death as a reference to the cyanosis suffered by the victims, which again tied the color to death. And this is present today as well. Death from Marvel, and Maleficent, the sorceress who puts Aurora into a sleep like death, wear purple cloaks. Thanos, the cause of the instant death of half the beings in the universe, is purple. Dr. Facilier, a witch doctor associated with voodoo and the underworld, has clothing, magic, and lighting showered in purple. Patti Bellantoni actually wrote a book titled If It's Purple, Someone's Gonna Die, which delves into the use of the color in film and how our association with them can affect the emotionality of a scene. Mystery is the aspect that connects all of these characters. Rare objects come with a level of mysticism to them. Strange stones come from the cosmos, purple powers are incorporated with characters associated with the occult, purple represents death, a universal mystery. So while these characters differ from story to story and have unique associations related to their hair, all the stoic characters come with a level of mystery. The reason behind the crazy character's eccentricity is a mystery, and those going through an identity struggle are having it as a product of mystery surrounding their background. This goes in hand with the historical context of purple and rare royal garments, unexplained cosmic powers, and the universal mystery of death. And the real effect of mystery is leaving the viewer wanting more. So I think, as a whole, purple hair represents